Hello, it's Rashmir, and welcome to day 3 of the Sampling Silence Challenge. So today we're going to continue to build on the insights and awarenesses that you've been having with respect to silence and your relationship with silence. And in particular, I imagine that now you are really aware of and recognizing that silence is not so much an exterior condition, but is an interior one. Now, of course, there's a relationship between our external circumstances and conditions and our interior one. For example, if you're in a really busy, noisy place, it can be hard to find inner silence and stillness. Alternately, when we're in nature, well, nature's never still, right? Nature is never completely silent. And yet, being in nature can be incredibly conducive to finding inner silence and stillness. And likewise, many contemplative traditions use sound or activity as a way into silence. The sound of a bell, for example, or maybe it's something as vibrant and vigorous as Sufi dancing. So it's interesting that there is this relationship, and I can attest to the fact from my own life and experiences that the more we cultivate inner silence, the more we're able to find silence and stillness, no matter where we are, no matter what is going on around us. And that is my hope for you through this challenge and beyond this challenge as well. So to today's task. Today, I'm going to have you reflect on and explore, and if you have time, to experiment with what enables you to drop into deeper inner silence and stillness, and also what stops you from dropping into inner silence and stillness. So if you're wondering what on earth I'm talking about, let me give you a few examples from my own life. So one is when my cat, who's really quite adorable, is sleeping on my lap, or even just purring on my lap. There's something about his presence and his call for my presence that causes me to stop and just be quietly listening to his breathing or feeling it coming in and out. Something about that is very captivating and helps me, even just for a few moments, drop into silence and presence with him. Another example, of course, is being in nature. And particularly when I'm sitting in nature or walking slowly. If I'm walking fast, it doesn't have that effect at all. If I'm walking fast, I tend to crowd out far too much. So slowing or stopping in nature is incredibly useful and powerful for me to find inner silence and stillness. And then another example is, in the middle of my workday, breathing is a great one, right? Especially breathing deep into my belly, which can shift my posture, open it up a bit. That is very grounding and centering. And so sometimes I'll do that either between tasks or before a call. Another related breathing exercise that I sometimes use is really paying attention to the breath as it comes in, as it turns, as it goes out, as it turns. That rhythmic cycle, but particularly capturing the turning point between the in-breath and the out-breath, and the turning point between the out-breath and the in-breath, is very powerful, because those are microscopic moments of silence that can be incredibly useful to use as a path into silence. That's just a few examples of what helps me drop into silence and stillness. In terms of things that stop me from doing so, I've already alluded to one, and that is busyness and rushing around. If I'm in a doing mode and I'm just eager to get through my to-do list, or I'm rushing from one task to the next, that's really, that crowds out silence and stillness. And it's not always the most productive way to be. I'm not saying it's always the wrong way to be, or the most unproductive way to be, if that's a word. But it's definitely not the most productive way for me most of the time, because often when I'm rushing, I'm not just crowding out silence and stillness, I'm crowding out possibilities, particularly to get things done more effectively with less fuss, with more grace, with more creativity, for example. And then one other example, if I'm actually taking the time to be in silence, or I'm sitting and I'm meditating, because I've got so much on, sometimes when I'm in those places, and I love what I do as well, right? So when I'm in those places, sometimes I've got this brushing of ideas coming up. And of course, the doing side of me wants to jump up and get on with the doing and get into motion and try them out, or at least write them down. So even that kind of energy can really pull me out of stillness. And sometimes that's useful. But more often than not, I find if I can calm myself down and have the commitment and the dedication to stay longer in silence and drop deeper, that can lead to even more breakthrough ideas, right? It can lead to a very different place of being that is useful and valuable for me. So those are a few examples, just in case that's of interest or use to some of you. I'll recap the task in the notes, but basically pay attention to what helps and what hinders you from cultivating silence. And if you have some extra time today, feel free to experiment either with some of the ideas I've suggested or with things people mention in the comments, and find what for you helps you drop deeper into silence and stillness. That's it for today. I will see you in the comments.